Well, as you know by now, President Trump's one big beautiful bill has passed and it has been signed into law. And it was signed into law on the 4th of July. What better day than that as we head into our 250th year of existence in this great nation? We get a bill passed that serves the American people rather than the American political system. Now, the Democrats and the lamestream media have been raging about this bill. They've been saying things like this. Check out what House Speaker, what Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries had to say about the bill. Check this out.
Assault on health care in the United States of America, people will die. Tens of thousands, perhaps year after year after year, as a result of the Republican assault on the health care of the American people. I'm sad. I never thought that I'd be on the House floor saying that this is a crime scene. And House Democrats want no part of it.
Now, as you just heard Hakeem Jeffries say, Democrats want no part of it. And there's a reason why they don't want any part of it. They are pissed. The Democrats and the lamestream media are highly upset, and we're going to break down why. Now, real quick, I'm just going to point out some key benefits from the bill, and then I'm going to jump into why the Democrats are highly upset about it, and they wanted to sway you and I to fight against it, to get our politicians to go against the bill. They wanted to flip Republicans not to put this bill into law because they knew it would be the death nail in the coffin of the Democrat Party. Let me get into it. So real quick, here's some of the benefits and the highlights of it. The typical family will get up to $10,900 in additional take-home pay. Workers will see increased wages up to $7,200. Households earning less than $100,000 a year get a 12% tax cut compared to what it is right now. Up to 7.2 million jobs are protected and created with this bill, and 1 million new jobs a year will be created annually. No tax on tips, overtime pay, car vehicle interest, and tax relief for seniors will put more money annually into Americans' pockets. $1,300 per tipped worker and $1,400 per hourly worker. It locks in and further boosts the double child tax credit to $2,200 for more than 40 million Americans. It locks in and boosts the double standard deduction, increasing it to $31,500 for families. Expands 529 education savings accounts and educational freedom to empower American families and students to choose the education that best fits their needs, whether it's K through 12 materials or obtaining post-secondary trades credentials. And parents have the right to opt their child out of hearing LGBTQ related information. So if you're a parent, just know when you get to that school, opt your child out if you don't want them involved in any of that. Supports working families and small businesses by expanding access to the child care credit and making permanent the paid leave tax credit. So you get paid leave tax credit, okay? And they say President Trump isn't caring about the working family. They're crazy. Enhances the adoption tax credit to help more families experience the joy of adoption and grows the child independent care credit. So now if you adopt a child, you get benefits. If you're already taking care of children that are in the foster care system, you get an increase. So you're being benefited for the benefit that you're providing to somebody else. You're helping the child. So the government wants to help you. And that's how it should go. The government should help those that are helping themselves. Those that don't want to help themselves, why should the government want to help you when you don't want to help you? It puts American families in control of their health care by expanding the health savings accounts. Eliminates fraud and waste in Obamacare and blocks access to taxpayer-funded health benefits for illegal immigrants. Now, the one thing they were unable to do, because please know something, for this bill to pass, certain things had to be taken out. If you'd have saw the original bill, everything was in it, benefits for everybody. But you know, some of those rhinos whose votes were needed did everything they could to try to strip that bill down. And then you have what's called the parliamentarian. This is somebody that's not elected, they're selected. And what they do is they monitor the Senate, both sides, to make sure that everything that they're adding into it legislatively falls within Senate rules and guidelines. So like the parliamentarian, since this bill was focused on more so fiscal, this bill was about money. So any legislation that was involving anything else, the parliamentarian didn't allow it, such as booting 1.4 million illegal immigrants off of the Medicare. They tried, that was in there. The parliamentarian said it fell outside of the lines, therefore it was left in. But people get pissed off like, oh, the rhinos and Trump stuck it to it. People blame Trump for everything. They say, oh, Trump Hotel had gum on the floor. And, you know, President Trump stuck that gum on the floor so my foot would get stuck. Like Trump did that? You think he personally did it? It's crazy. But that was what's going on. So that's why that stayed. It wasn't that Trump wanted that in there. It's not that Mike Johnson wanted it in there. It was that the parliamentarian did not allow the Senate to remove that. Now, John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate on the Republican side, he could have triggered what's called the nuclear option, which is where he could have overrode the parliamentarian. Now, the only reason he didn't is because when you do certain things, if you haven't paid attention in Congress or in the Senate, should I say in the House or in the Senate, when you do certain things for the first time, now it's open game and everybody does it. Even the Democrats have never used, hey, if you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never do anything like ask you for a cash app or a super chat. But you hitting that like button, it really helps the channel. It helps spread the information out. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're subscribed already or looking to subscribe right now, make sure, check your notifications and make sure that you select all, because YouTube hasn't been sending out the notifications unless you've got all selected. So make sure that you select all, so that way you'll be notified when I upload new videos. The nuclear option, because they know when that happens, things will never go back to the way it was again. Everybody will do it. Now, does that mean that if the Democrats were in power right now, they wouldn't have used it? They probably would, being under Trump. But the Republicans, trying to maintain decorum, they chose not to. But John Thune could have overrode it with the nuclear option. But again, that opens up a whole nother can of worms, just so you know. So now let's get into why the Democrats have been so anti this bill. Since we broke down everything that's in it, let me go and help you fully understand. And this, what I'm reading from, is from the Ways and Means. So this isn't some website. This is the Ways and Means Committee who handles finances for the United States. So let's get into why the Democrats are pissed off. So here we go. Boom. Number one, this puts American workers first. That pisses them off. Okay. Oh, matter of fact, that's not, there we go. This is the first, this is the first part, and we work our way backwards. So the bill makes America win again, and here's how. Why the Democrats are outraged. It holds woke elites and political class accountable. Here's how. It repeals the green corporate welfare subsidies and the Democrats' Inflation Act. Eliminates $500 billion of Green New Deal subsidies and ends America's energy independence on Chinese supply chains, which was crazy anyway. Ends foreign control over American tax dollars. Biden era global tax surrender sends hundreds of billions in revenue abroad. House passage of retaliatory tax measure, H.R. 1, forced foreign governments to stop discriminatory taxes against American companies, saving the United States $120 billion for American companies. Increases in the university endowment tax. So now all these universities that's getting these huge endowments, but they preach anti-American ideologies. Now you're going to have to pay a tax on that. You want to get the money and you want to be anti-American, you have to pay to talk bad against us. New restrictions on radical left-wing organizations in the tax-exempt sector. Taxes on nonprofits. So now if you got an executive making $3 million a year at your nonprofit, guess what? You're going to pay a tax on that, because your nonprofit is nonprofit because it's supposed to be providing a service or assistance to the people. But if it's providing more assistance and service to the board than it is to the people, well, you got to pay for that. Democrats don't like that. Eliminate special tax treatment for highly compensated corporate executives. Closes the loopholes allowing corporations to hire huge salaries in subsidiary companies. But Trump is doing everything for the billionaires, right? You think the billionaires are happy about him doing this? No. What he's doing is he's leveling the playing field. President Trump, I hope you realize it, he only took the Republican title because that was the one most closely suited with what he aligned with at the time. You got Democrats, you got Republicans. He had to select one just so he could represent a party to get in the position he is now. But President Trump isn't really a conservative, or he's not even a progressive. What he is, he's literally just a common sense, no nonsense, America first individual who's running the country like William McKinley did. Those people who believed in America and in the American people. It was Woodrow Wilson in 1913 who was elected with the globalist support. Prior to that, America used tariffs to fund our nation. It was Woodrow Wilson utilizing what's called the Underwood Act. That came out in 1912 is when the Underwood Act was enacted. And he aligned with that and told those globalist bankers that he would push it. It was under Woodrow Wilson that the country got the income tax. It was under Woodrow Wilson that the country ever had its first federal budget. We didn't have annual federal budgets. The country banked and plotted for the future of the country. This whole annual federal budget were things that countries like Britain did. You know, those European bankers who put Woodrow Wilson in his seat. Woodrow Wilson is also who brought in the Federal Reserve Bank. So when you look at what this Democrat did, he sucked the life out of the American system and made the government the focus of the country rather than the people. And it's a fact. Look it up. When the income tax was first enacted, it was supposed to be for the top 1% at 1%. So just like now, when the Democrats get up and they say, oh, this is for the billionaires. This is for the billionaires. Let's pass this to hold the billionaires accountable. That's how they sell it. But these billionaires are wealthy. They have great lawyers. They have smart people. They find ways to get around it. While the general public gets stuck with it because it doesn't pan out the way they thought. You think those billionaires are willingly going to let you take their stuff without fighting tooth and nail? And then when the revenue's not generating from it like they proposed, they say, it's not working out. Who we get it from? Well, it's already legal. Let's just slap the people with it. They voted us in. They wanted us to do it. They just didn't know we was going to do it to them. That's what happened. So it started out as 1% tax on the top 1%. Now, look, it's 7% across the board, and all of us pay it. Got to watch those folks. It stops taxpayer benefits from going to illegal immigrants. So we already know that's a great thing. Puts America first. It eliminates premium tax credits for Biden-era rule that encourages fraudulent enrollment, and it requires upfront income verification and ensures access to primary care, access to PTSs are fully repaid. Ends abuse in China to circumvent duties. Consistent with White House executive order, eliminates de minimis for low-value commercial shipments. Ends taxations of suppressors, short-barrel rifles, and short-barrel shotguns. So now it cuts the transfer and making taxes from $400 to zero, removing an outdated barrier abused by the Biden administration to prevent law-abiding Americans from exercising their Second Amendment rights. Wow. Here's another reason why the Democrats are upset. Because it delivers the biggest wins for the working class. Here's how. In addition to stopping a $1,700 tax increase later this year, the average American family of four making less than $100,000 receives an additional $600 in tax cuts as compared to today. Working families making between $15,000 and $30,000 will have their taxes cut by 21%, the largest of any income group. So there we go for your lower middle class benefit right there. And as you can see here, 21% for people making between 15 and 30, 16% for people making between 30 and 40, 14% for folks making between 40 and 50, 13% for between 50 and 60. As a result of the one big beautiful bill, the top 1% will pay more in federal taxes than they did before. Over 40% of all federal taxes. That's why when these lamestream media pundits and these Democrat politicians say, oh, the school teacher is paying more in taxes, you notice they say more in taxes than the billionaire. They're not talking about actual dollars. They're talking about the tax rate. But if you look at what a person making $1 million taxed at the rate they're taxed at versus somebody making $30,000, the millionaire, regardless of how you cut it, is paying far more in taxes. But a person who doesn't understand mathematics, like say, oh, how come a billionaire is paying less in tax than a teacher? They really believe the billionaire is paying less in actual dollars and contribution than the teacher, which nothing could be further from the truth. And it's insane. And somebody that is making that type of money, and if they are a small business, or the more money they have in their pocket, the more money they can spend in the market, in the economy, stimulate small business, stimulating big business, whatever way you want to cut it. But they sell it, and that's why they love their voters to be ignorant. Democrat Party, that's why they love these illegals. They don't know the American landscape. The more ignorant you are, the better you are as a constituent for the Democrat Party. Why do you think their slogan is vote blue no matter who, other than who we tell you to? It's vote blue no matter who, other than who we tell you to. That's just crazy. And so they say, hey, listen, remember Project 2025? Remember that was all people of color were going to be locked up and thrown out. And because they knew their constituents weren't going to read. They would say, hey, it's 900 pages, 900 pages, y'all. So trust what I'm telling you is in it. And I did a video when during the election that broke down that, pointing out to people, hey, what they're telling you is supposed to be in it, is not in it. I would issue challenges of $100 if anyone could jump up, especially black folks. Show me one thing in it that's racist. Show me one thing in it that's against women. I challenge you. And they couldn't. We know they couldn't. The One Big Beautiful Bill provides the biggest relief to low-income families. The One Big Beautiful Bill will cut taxes for Americans earning under $50,000 by 14.9%. 66% of the One Big Beautiful Bill's tax cuts benefit families making less than 500 grand. But it's all about the billionaires, right? 66% of the bill benefits people less than 500,000. And how many people is that making less than $500,000? Millions. Tens of millions, maybe even in the hundreds of millions. In America, we got 330 million people in this country. And I will go on record of saying at least 200 million are making less than 500,000. At least 200 million. So 66% of the bill caters to those hundreds of millions. That's why he's my president. Immediate expensing for new manufacturing production structures in America. So it enhances cost recovery for new agricultural and farm investments in rural America. Renews opportunity zone programs to better target rural America. Provides new incentives to drive $100 billion in investments to rural and underserved areas. I have seen how the opportunity zones work in areas like Detroit or in Chicago, which are deep blue cities that also took advantage of it. But yet they talk crazy about it. Puts flyover states first. The bill makes lower tax rates and brackets, double guaranteed standard deduction, and child tax credit from the 2017 tax cuts permanent. So as you can see, there's a lot, and I can go on and breaking each one of these down. The biggest thing that I wanted to point out is there's a reason why the lamestream media and the Democrats were fighting so hard against this bill. And it wasn't for what we thought. And if you notice, they never say millions of Americans will be thrown off of it. They never say that. They always point out that people, because they know that the people they're talking about are the illegal immigrants who shouldn't have been on it anyway. So I just wanted to jump on and point out some of the benefits of the big, beautiful bill while everybody's talking about the BS that the lamestream media and the demon rat politicians talk about. This bill is beneficial. Why? Because it is actually something for the people. And yeah, it's not perfect because you got politicians that are on that Republican side that wasn't going to let President Trump have a perfect bill. You have people like Tom Tillis out of North Carolina trying to tank it. You have people like Rand Paul trying to tank it. You have people in the House like Thomas Massey trying to tank it, not to mention the entire Democrat Party. But yet, in spite of that, they fought on and they got it. And it's something for the people. Finally, since 1913, there have not been policies that were made to just benefit the American people. Since we let that Democrat Woodrow Wilson steal that seat in the White House and bring in the Federal Reserve, he even tried to bring forth what we know today as the United Nations. See, this plan of globalization has been going on for a long time. Woodrow Wilson brought in what was called the League of Nations. And it failed miserably because back then people read a lot more. They were up on what was going on, and they were not going to allow him to bring that BS. Those federalized bankers, Andrew Jackson booted the bankers out. They've tried to interject themselves into America many times before, but it wasn't until they met a power-hungry professor, or should I say the president or the dean of a college, which Woodrow Wilson was at the time, that had illusions of grandeur of being the president. And he was considered a progressive. Research Woodrow Wilson. He is a progressive. They called them progressives in that day. He was a progressive. He wasn't even really a Democrat. He was a progressive. And he got boosted and supported from the bankers. That's how he got that seat. His right-hand man, Edwin House. And everything, his whole mission, once he got in there, he sold America out. And in his memoirs, he says the biggest mistake he made was when he sold off the legacy of America to the bankers. He acknowledged his mistake, but it was too late. The hooks was in him and there was nothing he could do. And the man ended up passing away from an aneurysm. His health wasn't right. He knew he sold his soul and he knew he sold us out. And now 250 years since the country's inception, we got somebody that came to sell us back in. And whether you're white, black, yellow, brown, he doesn't care. Do you add value to this country and to the legacy of this country? Well, then you're here. But if you're not adding benefit to this country, and if you aren't born in this country or coming here the right way, we don't want anything to do with you. And I stand on that. It's just like the whole thing with Medicaid. Oh, people getting kicked off. They should be kicked off if they're able-bodied. And the fact that the work requirements are only 80 hours a month, 20 hours a week, that's 4 hours a day on a 5-day work week, or 5 hours a day on a 4-day work week, however you want to slice it. But if you can't work 20 hours a week, 80 hours a month, why should people that are working 80 hours a week have to pay for them? Why should anybody working 40, 50, 60 hours a week have to pay for somebody that's unwilling to work 80 hours a month? But this is the crap that the demon rats sell to an ignorant voter base who don't know any better. They did a poll and it showed that amongst Gen Z, 25%, 24% of them felt very proud to be an American, while 32% didn't. And they went to Gen Z who have never owned a home, who have never having to pay bills. They live at home with mommy. Of course they don't have patriotism, because look at how the demon rats talk about this country. While on the conservative side, patriotism is at an all-time high. They said patriotism is higher today than it's ever been in the Republican Party, ever. And I could see it, because Lord knows I had somebody go off a black guy the other day on social media say, oh, trying to bring up some crap about color, like, oh, Brian, you probably, oh, you act like you don't see color. I said, I see color. He said, oh, yeah, what color you see? I said, red, white, and blue. Drop the mic on them, because that's all that matters to me. And do you know what really matters to the powers that be? Green. They force people to believe they care about this BS. Now, do you contribute? Do you make money? Well, you're in higher standing with them than anybody who doesn't. You got to believe that. That's why they're willing to misrepresent and do whatever they want to that class of people. Healthcare is terrible. Housing is horrible. Education system is pitiful. They don't care, because if you don't care, why do you expect them to care? So we got to bring back people becoming more politically educated, more emotionally educated, all across the board, just more intelligent, more in tune, to make sure we never go through anything like this again. But I just wanted to bring you the good news and break down some of the things of what's in it and why those demon rats are pissed off. If you stayed here and you watched this video this long, I really do appreciate you, and I thank you. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, leave a comment, tell me what you think. And most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.